Have you heard of Process.st? Hi, I'm Patti Scharf, CPA and partner at Acuity. Today I'm continuing on my journey talking about process and automation, and I'm going to be talking about one of our favorite tools here at Acuity, Process.st. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video on process and automation. I talked about kind of the how, what, and why of doing process. And if you want to go check out that video, you might want to start there. But this one is going to be on Process.st. I actually did a video on Process.st about 2 weeks after I started using it for the first time. That was now 5 years ago. You can go check out that video here. It was pretty basic, the basics of Process.st and how it looks and how to use it. And as you might imagine, Process.st has gone through a lot of changes in the last 5 years. So this video is more of an update and to give you a little bit more context of how we're using it here at Acuity. All right, so I'm going to hit you with some stuff right off the bat. When you go to create a new workflow in Process.st, you're going to see a screen like this. It'll be a pop-up window. And you can choose to create your workflow based on several different things. It used to be you would just start with a blank workflow and you would create it. I think they might have had some templates at the beginning, but now if you click the box that says Explore Templates, there are 800 different types of templates to choose from. Actually, I'll show you that in the next screen. But you can also start with just written instructions. If you have your instructions already written up in something like Google Docs or something like that, you can import the document and it'll basically guess what steps you want in your workflow. Same thing with Generate with AI. You can go in and describe, hey, here's what I want to do. I want to do a client onboarding workflow, and it will fill in not only the tasks, but it'll start filling in all of the fields that you might need, fill in like the different drop-down boxes and things like that. So that's pretty stinking cool. You can also just start with a blank workflow like you used to be able to do. All right, after this slide, I'm going to show you an actual demo, but what I wanted to point out was when you click on the window that said use a custom template, these are the workflow templates that they have. There are over 800 different types to choose from. They're in all different categories. The one that I'm picking is from customer success. They also have ones on, you can see some of them here, asset management, compliance, blah, blah, blah. They've got sales, operations, IT, just a ton of them. But when you just go click on this bubble, basically, it will create the workflow that I'm going to go through now. All right, so here's an example of the workflow run I was talking about that I ran based off a template. On the left-hand side, you can see all of the actual to-dos. On the right-hand side, you can see explanations of what these different tasks relate to. It might ask you for specific pieces of information. You might be able to enter in text. But this is all templated for you. It might not be perfect, but this is where you can customize it to your own needs. Because you can use AI now, or you can import existing documentation and AI will read it and build a process for you, man, if that had existed over the last 5 years, I would have saved literally hundreds of hours. So that is such a cool new feature that they've got. But let's talk about some of the other new features that they've got. If you look down here at ensure the data is accurate, I added something called conditional logic. And what you do is, if you pay attention to how this works, if you say, have you checked that the data is accurate, and you say no, then it's going to add a task that says, go check that this data is accurate. So I added a step, which is really easy. Let me just take you over there real quick. If you go to Edit Workflow, and you go here to this conditional logic mapping thing, you can see, have you checked that the data is accurate? If you say no, then it's going to show that task. So you can make this super customizable We use it in Acuity all the time, where if it's a client that's an e-commerce client, then the whole workflow is customized just to give you e-commerce tasks versus not e-commerce tasks. So it makes it really robust and really powerful, just having this one little tweak and this one little feature in the program. The next thing I want to show you is how you can share this with clients. So we do this in the client onboarding workflows. We have a whole bunch of tasks that we do. We have a whole bunch of tasks that we ask our clients to do, and then a whole bunch of tasks that we do again. But we don't want our clients to see all the work that we're doing. We just want them to focus on the things that they're responsible for. So there is a feature in here called Share Link. You can turn this on or off on each workflow run. And if you copy this, you can see it if you go to like an incognito window. So let me open up one of those for you. So this is what the client will see when this shared workflow is shared with them. They only see this one single task that has their information. And then I added a couple of little things here. This is information that was entered earlier in the workflow. They can review it. Is your contact information correct? If they say no, we use that conditional logic I was just talking about, and it'll ask them to provide updated contact information. Any of these little red asterisks means that they have to answer the question before they can mark the task as complete. So it forces some data integrity. It forces them to answer questions that sometimes they might just skip, and then you would have to go chase them for. Now you don't have to chase them because it forces them to answer the question. And I think that this feature is really, really cool. Here's another feature that is brand spanking new. If you look down all the way at the bottom, it's got these tasks attached, where you can create a task on the fly. So if you just hit the plus sign here, it'll ask you, and you can just say, oh, some extra task. And then you can add descriptions, you can add subtasks if you want to, bulleted lists or whatever, hyperlinks and things like that. If it's required, you can mark it as required. Let's just create it as is. And you'll see it'll show up at the bottom of your task list here. So that's pretty neat. This, like I said, has not existed in the past, but it allows you to make each of your workflow runs even more customizable and useful for a wide variety of purposes. One of my favorite parts of Process.st is the ability to automate with Process.st. One of the new features with Process.st that honestly I don't really even use very much is it has some built-in automations. So if you go to edit your workflow, you'll see up here that you have the ability to automate different things. So you can choose an app, you can choose an action. So let's just say we're going to use Slack, and we're going to send a message when something happens. Okay, you can do that directly within Process.st without needing a supplemental tool like Make or Zapier or something like that. I actually don't use it very often because the automations are limited, so there are only a few things that you can do, and I like to get really fancy with the automations that we do. We will do like 17 different steps in ours, and it's just a little bit clunkier to do it directly within the software. But if you want to do just really basic things and you don't have another tool or you're not familiar with the other tool, by all means get started here. When I do add automations, I will put a little icon in here, a little emoji that indicates that there's automation tied to this, and I will also add in a comment box at the bottom that tells me what happens when this task is marked as done. I will paste a link to the automation, like in our case in Zapier. I will maybe post a hyperlink to another record that is being impacted by this automation, just so that I have some kind of a trail to get from here to there to there. So that's just a tip of the trade that hopefully you find useful. Another great new feature is Pages. So you know how sometimes you have the same instructions in multiple different places? Now you can build it in one place in a page. It's kind of like a Google Doc where you can have text and you can have video and you can have screenshots, but you can link it into your one or more workflows. And when you click on view, and this is just kind of like a fancy hyperlink, it'll open up the page and voila, there it is. So you can update the information in this one place. Maybe it's for training purposes or whatever, and you can just use it as reference and go back and forth between the workflow and the page itself. I could seriously go on all day. There are so many new features, and I am just a big raving fan of Process.st. And if you stuck around this long and you want to try out Process.st and you're thinking about signing up, go look down below. I've got a code. I think it's Patti_Scharf 5 off. And the first 5 people who sign up using that will get 5% off of their subscription. I'm not getting a kickback for that or anything like that. It's just, I'm a raving fan, and they were like, hey, would you like a code? And I said, I would be happy to share that with the masses. So there you go. I hope you like this video. If you did, please like, comment, and share. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.